What is going on, YouTube? Andrew Miller, Tarik LaCour from hook'emheadlines.com. We are coming back at y'all today with a couple of topics to talk about for the football program. Within just a couple hours of each other this afternoon, we had three Texas players hitting the portal. I believe it was just three, correct?
Brennan Thompson,
Travell.
Travell Johnson, Derrick Brown.
Yeah. So, the biggest name of the three, probably Brennan Thompson. Derrick Brown and Travell Johnson, two guys that I could not really see making the two deep this coming season, or really at any point, considering how many players have passed them up at their respective positions. Excuse me. Brennan Thompson, Shane and I actually talked about that a little bit. He brought it up when we were kind of looking at each position and picking one player with the most to prove in the final couple of weeks of spring ball. For wide receiver, he mentioned, because obviously Brennan Thompson's not participating in spring ball because he's running track, but do you think that was more that he was going to get kind of blocked out from the two deep because we have so much wide receiver depth, or do you think he just at this point found a better or wants a better fit elsewhere?
I think that with these types of things, you generally there are some exceptions. You just have to make a choice. Do I want to be fully committed to football, or do I want to kind of do a little of both, which means you're not fully committed to football. And considering this was a time when Sark was really looking for another wide receiver, looking for new kick returners, punt returners, this was really the spring for Brennan Thompson to show what he could do. So when he decided to go run track, which he's very good at, and maybe at some point he can be an Olympian down the road, you can see it was like, well, when Jonte Cook and DeAndre Moore came in and were lighting it up, it was going to be that much harder for Thompson to make a real stake in the offense, because while you mentioned that you didn't think any of these guys were going to make the two deep, I do know that Jonte Cook and DeAndre Moore will certainly be on the two deep. We're going to see them a lot this year. So that's all to say. The writing was kind of on the wall when he chose this pivotal spring to run track, and wish him the best wherever he ends up. As for Travell Johnson and Derrick Brown, Johnson, I remember he was in the class that Sark inherited, so he wasn't exactly part of Sark's vision for the University of Texas, and he was always undersized, and we play in a very large defense. It favors larger people at every position. Something people should have taken away from Sark saying, I don't like cornerbacks that are under 6 foot, is to say everyone in this defense needs to be a large human being, respected for their size, their position. And they are. You got a 6'3" corner and a 6'2" corner in Terrence Brooks. So it's a big guy's game. Derrick Brown, that one surprises me a bit because, as you know, on Twitter and during the 2022 class, he was one of the vocal leaders with Justice Finkley of getting guys to Austin. So sorry to see him go. I actually had retweeted back during that time when he was doing that. I said, this guy's going to be a captain at Texas someday. So I was wrong there. But wish them all the best, and they won't be the only ones. I'm sure we'll have a few more in the portal as well.
Yeah, I do want to say, I think Travell Johnson, wasn't he in the 2022 class? I think he was recruited by PK and Jeff Choate.
I thought he was 2021 for some reason. You'll have to check it for me. I'm not able to at the moment.
Yeah, I think it was 2022. I agree with you. I don't think Travell Johnson was a guy that had much of a future at Texas in terms of like landing a spot on the two deep and contributing. Maybe he can find a spot elsewhere. He was kind of a highly rated 3-star, so he had something like 15 or 20 offers. Probably will get interest elsewhere. Derrick Brown, I agree, a little bit more talented. He never really put on the weight that he needed to get to probably around 240, 250, depending on if he was going to play more of like a will linebacker or like maybe a smaller edge rusher spot, but he came in at 210. These are the sort of losses that we saw after the regular season and then, after the bowl game. I think there's still, yeah, I would agree. I think there's still probably a few names around the corner. I'm kind of surprised to see these entrants, specifically Johnson and Brown, come before the spring game, but I don't know how much that matters if they weren't going to have a spot on the two deep.
Once you're ready to go, just say I'm leaving.
Yeah, that's fair. I did want to ask you this because right now, I think we're in the midst of the second day of a multi-day visit for a portal visitor. I don't know if you've looked into this much. What are your thoughts on Trill Carter, the Minnesota grad transfer senior defensive lineman that we're hosting for a visit right now?
I think he's a very crucial and needed pickup because I think what helped the defensive line last year was heavy rotation. And if you can bring a guy like him in, he'll play a lot of snaps. He'll be able to replace Javontre Sweat and Byron Murphy, keep them fresh, so we can keep that strong rush going and that strong run stopping going on. So I think this is a very pivotal recruit for Sark to get, and with any luck, we will. And he's also kind of a proven commodity. He was a honorable mention in the Big Ten. Nothing to scoff at. He was productive at Minnesota. He's not the type of guy he's not, Indomitius Sue or Aaron Donald, who's just going to take over a game, but he's going to be productive. So I would absolutely take him. And it would allow guys like Sadir Mitchell to learn the ropes more and come on later in the year. I think Sadir Mitchell is going to be a star, but it's hard to ask a guy at that age to come in and play a lot early. Remember, folks, Kelvin Banks is the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone you get is going to be like a future top 5 draft pick. So in the NFL, I would agree. I think Trill Carter more or less would be like the 4th guy in the defensive line rotation behind Alfred Collins, Byron Murphy, and Tavontre Sweat. I don't know if you had mentioned that, but I mean, I think that's kind of what you were hinting at there. Maybe compete with Vernon Broughton for some reps, but I actually think it could be a nice little fit because Trill Carter, better run stopper than he is a pass rusher. He didn't generate much of an interior pass rush at Minnesota, but that wasn't necessarily his role. Consistent run stopper in the last few years, ranked in the top half of interior defensive linemen in Minnesota in each of the last 2 years in grade in run defense. But Vernon Broughton's more of a adept pass rusher. He's got more length, he's got more explosiveness off the line of scrimmage, but he doesn't quite have that evened out strength yet. He doesn't have that physicality and that body moving ability at the point of attack. So you can have a guy like Carter to take, to come onto the field in short yardage situations, non-standard downs, things like that. Derrick McLendon, FSU edge rusher that we're showing a little bit of interest in. I actually don't know how much interest, but I think it shows that we're still going after edge rushers, and he's a guy with a lot of Power 5 pass rushing experience. Posted this on Twitter the other day. He actually led the Power 5 among edge rushers and defensive ends in pressure rate in the 4I and 5 tech in the last 2 seasons. So he could be a nice little fit as a pass rush specialist. Yeah, that was an interesting little nugget that I had found. Thanks, SIS Data Hub. But I mean, do you think that we should be going after a guy like Derrick McLendon? I find some value there because he can set the edge and run defense as well.
I do, because you just don't have a proven guy opposite Baron Sorrell. So you could, I think, Justice Finkley and Jamon Tapp and Ethan Burke and down the road Colton Vosick will all be good players, potentially great players. Vosick and Burke have those types of frames that they could be very, very good rushers in the SEC, but they're unproven, and Sark is trying to win a title this year. So get as much proven commodities as you can, because you may need them down the line. TCU was something you could look at. Kansas State and TCU, who ended up in the title game last year, are very veteran teams. So be as veteran as you can, limit your mistakes, and then use your talent to take you over the top. So, sure, that would be a good. I think McLendon could be a good mentor to Finkley and Burke, kind of learning that position still. So,
yeah, I like the idea of adding another proven edge rusher. I also think McLendon would be an upgrade over what we had last year in Ovie Gofu. So all in all,
It's pretty impressive that a gopher will get to say, I played at Notre Dame, Texas, and LSU. I mean,
yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
it is. I mean, I think he was a positive voice in the locker room. It's just like a lot of his faults, he pretty much never improved upon them. So I'm going to do a little quick or rapid fire for you right quick for positional needs in the portal, and then we can move on to looking at the spring game. There's 3 positions I think are interesting. If you have any additional ones you wanted to touch on quickly, feel free. There's 3 that stick out to me that I think we could still be looking at adding something in the portal. I'm going to say safety. And I'm saying that with the asterisk that Jalen Catalon still isn't healthy, so we might be heading into the fall with Keaton Crawford as a safety 1 at boundary. What do you think that would be?
I think Catalan will be. I think Catalan came in with almost kind of the understanding he wouldn't be playing in the spring.
Yeah.
And they were kind of okay with that because of how much football he's played. And they're like, you know what? Let's just get you fully healthy and ready for the fall because that's when we need you anyway. But yeah, I guess if the right guy comes around, fine. I don't expect that guy to hit the portal, but
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's fair. It'd have to be some distraught FCS All American or high level Group of 5 player. But tight end.
Yeah, that one I would agree. Because you have Helm and you have Sanders. Still not exactly sure how Juan Davis is going to factor into all this because similar to Derrick Brown never getting the full size there. You have a few more tight ends coming in, but none of them are ready to just hit the ground running, I think. So, but who knows? Gunnar Helm, he impressed his freshman year.
It's true. Tight end, I would like to see us hit the portal. Yeah, I do like Helm and Sanders, but I don't think. I mean, Shannon and Randall aren't going to be ready yet. I don't think. And Juan Davis he hasn't made a mark yet. It's been 3 years. This other one is interesting. It came to mind for me because Texas is still trying to figure out the situation. There's interior offensive line. I went straight toward no, but do you if the right guy came along, do you think we would for interior offensive line?
Yeah, because I'm still not exactly sure what the 2 guards and center are going to be. I'm as confused about that now as I was at the beginning. That's really not going to sort itself out into the fall.
Yeah.
And I think the first call that has to be made is going to be, okay, are we fully committed to Jake Majors at center? Because that's going to shape how you do the guards, I think.
Yeah, I think Texas was looking for more out of, maybe seeing a big riser this spring or looking for more out of DJ Campbell. No, we just didn't get it. I think we're at the point now where once Cole Hudson returns, we have the same group starting along defensive line that we did last year until someone else steps up. I think that's good news for Christian Jones because I think he has been really solid this spring despite Cam Williams, coming on pretty strong throughout most of camp. Okay, let's talk about the spring game here for a little bit. I know you were mentioning off air that, yeah, we got the orange-white game on Saturday at DKR. I'm excited for it just to see more of a traditional spring game format. Last year was kind of an altered scrimmage setting and open practice. I think I enjoy the spring game setting more than Tarik does. I think Shane and I both do. But it's either way, you just hope, because we've had some injuries crop up. You hope that no one gets injured, for one. And for 2, that, that we see some level of productiveness, I think, from some of the guys that might need these reps. I do have a couple of names that I pointed out. Malik Murphy, I think would be nice to see him have a good spring game. Not necessarily to get the hype train rolling, but just to get his confidence up. He needs those reps too. And then I know you mentioned running back. I think that'll be interesting. I'd like to see the second team edge rushers versus really any offensive line group. And then I'd like to see how some of the freshman linebackers play. Those are the spots I'm watching.
Well, as I said, I don't take much out of these spring games. I think they're just kind of fun for fans to see. I honestly wouldn't fault a coach if he said, you know what, we're just not going to do a spring game. I'm just going to use this practice to get my team better. But considering that's not how things are done at the moment, I would like to see how Savion Red and C.J. Baxter work as the new running backs. I want to see what Jonathan Brooks can do. Because really, this type of thing is slanted toward the offense. The defense is playing a little bit with their hands tied behind their back. And it actually, it wouldn't be a bad idea if they just had the guys go thud and not go full tackle. Because the one thing you really don't want to do is like have someone tear an ACL or do something in front of everybody and, that kind of thing. So that's what I'm kind of looking for, just making sure that people are enthusiastic, they're playing smart, they're playing fast, and hopefully a good crowd will turn out. I think it's supposed to rain a little bit and it will be warmer. Also, it's a little earlier, considering that for some reason Texas can't get a bunch of night games or later games. You'd think they would have had their spring game, which is totally under their control, later in the evening when, more people could go. But again, that's not how things are done. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And then looking forward to the summer workouts, looking forward to the other freshmen coming, especially the safety from Louisiana, Derrick Williams.
Yeah.
So I really like him, the Raptor. So it'd be interesting. And then hopefully Sark can close with McLendon and the defensive tackle. So we'll see what happens. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm excited for summer workouts too. I've said for a lot of these guys that have maybe stepped up this spring, but guys like Ethan Burke, I'm mostly younger guys. Yeah, Ethan Burke would be one. Jamon Tapp, Mo Blackwell. I know he's not younger, but some of these guys that need to put on weight still need to get their body right for the fall. Even Sadir Mitchell, he's still got a ways to go in the.
I hope to see Justice Finkley play Buck and Jack. So
this weekend.
Yeah, that would
interesting.
I think he really would fit better during what Baron Sorrell does.
Yeah,
but I'm sure he'll probably be moved there eventually because it's not surprising to me that like Finkley kind of gets washed the way he does because he doesn't have the reach, but from where Sorrell plays, it wouldn't be as big of an issue. So
yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah, I would like to see more out of Finkley. Let's end on this. I'm going to give two names that I think will be. I say this with the asterisk that I don't think spring breakout players means much come the fall. I used the example of Jordan Pouncey. If you remember that name a few years ago, I believe he had a big spring game.
Here's an even better one, Ajay Hall.
Yeah, at Alabama or.
Yeah, Alabama. Everyone was sure he was the next big guy, and barely plays there, doesn't play here.
Yeah,
now I don't even know where he is.
I don't think he's found a new home yet out of the portal.
Maybe he's working for Texas Parking now, considering all the.
I think on offense, Casey Kane, I think, is probably meant for a big spring game. He's a guy that just seems like a practice player. That's not a bad thing, but I played sports growing up. There's guys that are good, but just are practice players, and you just don't see as much out of them in the game setting for whatever reason. I think Casey Kane could be that sort of guy from what I've heard the last couple of years. And then on defense, I actually think you're going to see some freshmen with some chips on their shoulder. I think Malik Muhammad could be in for a big game on Saturday.
I'll give you one. Well, you gave two. I'll give two. I think B.J. Allen. He's been doing good things.
Yeah.
I like that he's been making noise the last couple practices.
Yeah.
And I think that Jonte Cook will have another. He'll do something and jaw dropping. I have a feeling.
Be a lot of fun.
He just has a knack for that.
It's true. Yeah, I have enjoyed watching Jonte the last couple of years at DeSoto. It'll be nice to see him in game action, suit up in a Texas uniform. That'll be cool to see. Okay. Yeah, I heard about B.J. Allen, 2 picks in practice in the final full pads practice yesterday as well. So good things from him. All right, you got anything else?
Nope, I think that's all, and we'll be back at it next week.
But yeah, like I said, I'm excited to at least see some sort of game action this weekend. Another thing that we'll be having more of, I'm getting back out on the road and covering some recruiting stuff here in the coming weeks. We have 7-on-7 national tournaments coming up, and then Nike Eyeball and Peach Jam. So I will be giving you all plenty of content for football and basketball recruiting here in the next couple of weeks, couple of months. But anyway, for Andrew Miller, Tarik LaCour, from headlines.com, that's pretty much it.
Welcome.